Hey guys, this is Sajin, and I'm playing Summoner's War. And I started getting into Summoner's War after being gone from the game for about 6 years. So for the last 3 months, I've been deep into Summoner's War, and I've been having a lot of fun playing it again. So much so that I wanted to actually start up this YouTube channel to start this series about maybe why you should return to Summoner's War and have as much fun, hopefully, as I'm having. So I was playing Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes before this and some other mobile games, but after some years, I've come to the realization that most games out there are really, really shallow compared to Summoner's War. The depth of this game, the amount of things you can do, the amount of customization you can do, supersedes that of almost every game out there when it comes to the whole type of turn-based monster collection type of games. So I came back and I was kind of worried that being gone from the game for so long, like half a decade, would put me far behind the pack and make the game unplayable because I was worried that maybe the PvE content would be far out of my league, or I would think that the PvP content would be so difficult because my equipment would be so bad compared to people I have been playing for 6 or 7 years straight. And I came back and found out that's not exactly true. That the game is very playable as long as you set appropriate goals and that you aren't trying to compare yourself to people that have been playing the game forever. That's kind of not really fair to yourself and the expectations and pressure you're putting yourself to succeed at that game. So if you set your goals right, you can have a lot of fun in this game. Now, typically, when we would log into Summoner's War, 5 years ago, we would get to the island, and you would have to click the map and go to the Kairos dungeons to farm, and you would have to farm one at a time. You would literally have to do your whole screen would be taken up by your dungeon run, and you would have to wait the 1.5 minutes or so to do Dragon's B10 and get your loot, look at your rune, and then if you don't like your rune, you have to go out of the dungeon, sell it, and go back into the dungeon and do nothing else but stare at your screen, wait 1.5 minutes, forget to press replay, and then your whole farming time becomes really inefficient. And it was one of the reasons I didn't like the game that much because that's really boring. I couldn't do anything else in the game. But what you're seeing on the screen now is an option that's come out in the past year or so, I believe. Repeat battles. Repeat battles make the game so much more playable, meaning that you can do 10 runs of almost any dungeon straight, 10 runs straight, and then have the ability to look at the loot and sell the loot or upgrade the runes on the spot instead of going all the way out of a dungeon to do that. And also, when you start your 10 repeat battles up, you can minimize this window and then do other content in the game. The other content being you can do PvP content, you can do TOA content, and you can do guild content, which is amazing because it makes your time more efficient. If you're really busy, you can cram things into a smaller amount of time and still get everything done that you need to get done. So let's check it out here. So I like to farm dragons because I like violent runes. Violent runes are still good for people that have played the game since release and been gone for a while. Yes, violent runes are still very good, and they're a lot easier to get now because they released 2 different levels of the Giant's Keep, the Dragon's Lair, Necropolis. So you have 2 extra levels, B11 and B12, that we didn't have before. And the difference is that the B11 dungeons can guarantee 6-star runes that are blue and above, or legendary 5-star runes. There's no other 5-star runes that are dropped from B11 other than legendary runes, which is all good and all, but you really want to focus on getting really good 6-star runes. Like the days of running 5-star runes upon release, those days are gone. Okay, so ultimately the goal is when you return, you want to get to the point where you can do B11 and B12. And B12, what makes B12 different from B11 is that B12 guarantees 6-star runes only, blue and up, which is, of course, amazing. And I'm starting up the repeat battle right now. And you'll see that there's a window on the right-hand side where it says no acquired rewards. That's where the drops are going to show up, be it the crafting materials, the runes, the Rainbow Mon, mystical scrolls, what have you. Though the runes will be there for you to preview, and then also at the same time, if you don't like them, you sell them on the spot. You don't have to go out of the dungeon window to do that. And if you do like them, you could upgrade them on the spot to see how they upgrade. If they upgrade badly, you sell it. If they upgrade great, you keep it. Very simple. But this whole concept saves a lot of time from not having to wait and watch intently for one run to finish and press replay, and then go back to ignoring it and being bored about the game. So what I'll do now is minimize this window by clicking the icon on the top right, and then the rest of the game presents itself to me, and I can play the game even more, which is awesome. I really love this feature, and I'm kind of surprised it was just released within the last year. It seems like if they did that years and years ago, that more people will be spending money. And the reason I say more people will be spending money is because these runs go pretty quick, and you are burning through crystals very fast, which can be good. So if you're a person who doesn't spend too much in the game or doesn't have enough time to spend in the game, burning through your crystals that you get every day, burning through your energy is really time efficient. But if your monsters are really strong, and if you're burning through these dungeons really quickly, you're going to go through crystals really fast. I'm talking 1,000 crystals in a day. That's how fast we're talking about. So we can get a lot done with this whole auto battles thing. So we have our first rune drop now. So you see it's a 6-star rune. It's blue, which is the minimum value you're going to get from these dungeons. And of course, I'm not going to keep an endure rune, so I'm going to go ahead and sell that. And I'm going to talk about it in future episodes of the series about how we can try to maybe not really catch up to the game, but kind of close the gap from players that have been playing for a long time and people like us who've been gone for years. So we're going to talk about, being really efficient with your energy, being efficient about what you keep and what you're kind of aiming for. But we're going to go ahead and end this dungeon run so I can show you that we can also now not just repeat 10 battles of raid, we can also solo raid 5 ourselves now. We don't have to wait for 2 other people to be intently again watching their screen for each raid battle to finish. We can actually just do it ourselves completely with our own monsters, and then just solo raid 5 by ourselves. It's incredible for people who, maybe you don't have a lot of friends in the game because you just got back and you have to make all new friends, or you don't like having to wait on people or finding someone that is, who's going to be really focused on raiding time efficiently, meaning watching every raid and being at their PC or phone and clicking accept over and over again. So let's go to the Rift Raid menu. So we can go to the Rift Raid, and we can also do Raid 5 solo. And this is my team for Raid 5. If you come back to the game and want to get back into doing Raid 5 really quickly, there are really meta teams right now, teams that have been tried and tested and that are true, that make Raid 5 quick, as fast as 30 seconds, 40 seconds per run. But I wasn't around when Balegar, which is a fusible Lightning Emperor, was kind of like the meta of doing Raid 5 quickly. So I don't have a strong Balegar right now. I would need much stronger Rage runes to pull off the damage that would take to run specific Balegar teams. But if you want to look up the Bailey teams, they're called BJR5, I believe. So check those out and make sure that you have those rune quality to do solo R5. If you can't do solo R5 with the monsters that you have, it's a goal that you want to get to. But of course, you want to either do it the old-fashioned way by finding 2 partners and just running your best teams, or doing a solo Raid 4, which is soloable and repeatable as well. It's Raid 5. So this is another great feature of the game that makes it really fun, because what I found in other games is that it's so shallow. There's not much you can do with your monsters, right? Like, for example, in Star Wars Galaxies of Heroes, it kind of forces you to play with certain types of archetype groups, like overarching types of units. So it encouraged you to play with like all Jedi, or encourage you to play with dark side. You couldn't have fun and like choose your most favorite characters and put them on a team and give them the equipment to make them work really well. Unfortunately, the other games just don't have the flexibility that Summoner's War has. So if you like to tweak and to test working with your favorite monsters, and this time you can work with like 18 of them, making a really efficient Raid 5 team is really fun. And it's and when you get to the point where you can finally do it, it might take you a minute or so, or a minute and a half, but when you can finally do it, it's really rewarding because you're doing it kind of in your own way. I really like Summoner's War for that particular reason, where your monsters aren't tied to a type of monster. Like, you don't have to run full water teams to be successful. You can just run monsters that you like, or monsters that are really good by themselves, or monsters that have synergy with different type of leaders skills, right? And that's why Summoner's War, I believe, after coming back to the game, is just a better experience than so many other games. Like, we can make arguments that, oh, these types of games, like these mobile games, are just like for whales to throw tens of thousands of dollars into and beat up on noobs. I'm like, but if you're playing for yourself, right, and if you set goals appropriately, trying to find things that you like to have fun and just do those things, don't subject yourself to being tortured in PvP by people that spent $4,000 in the game. If you can just do the things that you like to do in the game, like Raid 5, do dungeon runs, make your monsters better with better equipment, then eventually you're going to get to the point where, like, man, my monsters are really strong, where I can actually compete in the game. There are people that have been playing this game for 6 or 7 years that spend like nothing on the game, but due to the dedication they put into this game, they're very competitive in PvP and these PvE dungeons, doing these Raid 5s in 30 seconds, like I said before. But I just wanted to show you an example. Like, this is the best feature Summoner's War has ever come out with. And for people that have been out of the game for a long time, and if you were kind of discouraged and kind of really bored with the whole raiding experience, because maybe you just want to raid to PvP. Like, if you just want to raid to PvP, let's just get to the point, right? So having these repeatable dungeons lets you PvP in the arena, lets you PvP in guild content, and lets you do TOA whenever you want to. And plus all the other things like managing your runes. Like, if you like playing with your runes and changing runes around, well, you can minimize this window and go to your monster box and go to your runes and play with your runes all day long, right? Great feature, and one of the best reasons to come back to this game, because the flexibility of allowing you to get things done quickly if you want them to, or do more with all the time that you have available to yourself. So let's move on to the next point of why I think people should come back to Summoner's War, and that is that the game is overall, it's a lot more free to play friendly. There are a lot of events running, and there's like, firstly, let's talk about, there's a lot of free crystals. So in the game now, they provide like 25 free crystals a day, and they also have updated daily missions that I'm going to show this to you later, but updated daily missions that give a lot of energy, a lot of crystals, and a lot of mana stones that makes playing the game a lot more, how do I say, doable, in the sense of like playing a little bit longer. Before, when we first started playing Summoner's War like 5 or 6 years ago, you probably knew that you weren't getting a lot of stuff. I mean, summoning scrolls, they were few and far between. Crystals were few and far between. Energy was from events and stuff like that. You didn't really get a lot of free stuff, but we're getting a lot of free stuff now. And let's talk about events. Events, I mean, concurrently running events. Like sometimes there's like 5 events running at the same time. So right now there is a Halloween event, and this is in October 2021, by the way. There is a Halloween event that's running. There is a bonus mystical scroll event as well. So if you are summoning, you can get a little bit of kind of like a quote unquote cash back on your mystical scrolls. So like every 10 scrolls you get 1 back, but then that 1 free you get also counts towards your increment of 10 for the next go around of getting a free mystical scroll. You have let's see, since a new monster was released, which were the Totemis, there's a new Totemis event that the more points you collect, a lot more stuff you get. We're talking legendary scroll, a bunch of scrolls, crystals, and energy. There is a Devilmon party event, which is wrapping up very soon. This is ending in like 2 days, but it's been running a long time. And even though you might have finished the event, you can still get the bonus event rewards, which are energy or mana stones. We also have a Transcendent Summoning Piece event, which is also ending this weekend, Halloween. And this gets you energy and mana stones every day, even though the event is fully complete as far as like obtaining the first mission requirements. Oops, we already saw that one. Let's go to, let's see, is there any other events running? Oh yeah, there's one more event running, which is the Arena and World Arena event, which is if you're doing Arena every day, or if you're doing World Arena every day, you get 50 energy, mana stones, and medals that changes every day, like either Arena or World Arena medals. So in this particular situation, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 events running at the same time. So we're just from events alone, we're getting hundreds of energy a day, plus mana stones and plus other stuff for free. And this is not like a once in a year situation. This is something that happens all the time. I mean, there's going to be a new event that's going to be released this coming Sunday, which is the 4 weeks event. That's coming out. So there's always events that are running to make the game more free to play friendly. So we're getting free crystals from daily missions, from just logging in. We're getting free energy every day from I think it's 50 in the morning, 50 in the afternoon from Com2uS. We have oh yeah, you always get free crystals from doing like, you know, Siege Battle. You get it from doing World Boss as well. So there's a lot of ability to collect crystals. We're talking thousands of crystals a month. And not to mention, doing TOA will net you a bunch of crystals too. And I'm showing you right now something that's new for people like us that's been gone away from the game for a long time. This is a new version of, this is a kind of new level of TOA. So it's going to be the hell difficulty. So hard and normal and hell now. But for people that are free to play, there's a lot more ability, there's a lot more ways to get energy crystals, mana stones to make your game more fun without spending any money at all. And not to mention, as far as when it comes to monsters, there are free to play monsters that are basically upgraded versions of the some 2-star and 3-star monsters. So if you go to your monster collection box and you click on each elemental button, they're going to be at the bottom and they're going to have orange stars. So they're going to be like this new tattoo, which is a staple in doing Giants B12. We'll talk about that in another video as far as what we need to do to catch up. And one of those things catching up is making B12 teams, because B10 team guys, trust me, I tried. B10 teams are just not, they won't cut it really well in B12 dungeons. So you have like the new Rauk or Rayok. They're badass. I mean, like they have new skins like entirely, but also abilities that make them so much more better. And some of these guys are great in PvP as well. But having access to these things, it doesn't take money to get these things. These are just new upgraded monsters that you get from doing a new type of dungeon. And I'll show you that dungeon in a second. But these are really great additions to the game, because they're free, and they're very effective. Also, there's new fusions. So if you've been gone for years, we do have new fusions. Of course, I mentioned earlier the Baligur fusion, which is the Lightning Emperor, and so there's actually been a large gap of time when it came to 5-star monsters that were fusionable. Totemis were just released like last week, so I'm sure there's been years between the Fire Emperor and the Totemis. But this Totemis, the Awakened name is Riley. Riley's great, and almost like it's great in PvP and it's great in dungeons, specifically like raid. And I think that's why they were released. They brought this Come To Us brought Riley to the game because it's an excellent PvP monster, but it's also super important for people that are starting to try to solo Raid 5. This monster, along with a secondary Awakened monster like the new Lulu, would be great for healing and cleansing in Raid 5 as well. We'll talk about that in another video. But now we also have the ability to fuse Verd. So when we started, Verd was still like one of the top tier dungeon monsters for a lot of dungeons. And that is still exactly the case now. Verd is still really important in things like the new dimensional content, and it's still really important in a lot of dungeon content, like, you know, just farming for runes. And so not only do we get Verd, but we also have the ability to get the Dryad. So this is fusionable as well. The Dryads are going to be really important for Giants B12 again. So I mentioned that Tattoo from before. She's really good for B12, and so are the Wind Dryads. You need 2 of them. Now they're fusible, so anyone can run a really quick Giants B12 dot team with 2 Wind Dryads, Tattoo, Sath, and Lucian lead, for instance. And Emma's fusible now too. The Neostone Agent. I mean, she doesn't really get a lot of use, but if you have the need for a shield healer type of person, she's really great. But yeah, so not to mention those fusion monsters, but the game overall caters to people that just spend the time in the game to be successful. So if you take the time to fuse and create the secondary Awakened monsters to run your dungeon team successfully, it's not going to cost you any money to do it, and they're very effective. And the same free-to-play teams that you'll be running if you're a free-to-play player are the same teams that a whale will run their Dragons B12 team or Giants B12 team. Because those are the most efficient ways to do the dungeons. So that says a lot about how Com To Us made the game a lot more free-to-play friendly. Because if the whales are using the same teams that free-to-play people are using, well, you can only thank Com To Us for having the foresight and the want and will to put them as either fusible monsters or monsters that are secondarily awakened. But let's say you are a person that spends money, and there's something wrong with that. I spend money on my games, and people should be able to use money in really any way they want to, right? So I don't have a problem with that. But let's talk about the cost efficiency of this game. The game has gotten a lot more cost efficient when it comes to spending money in the game. So let's go to the shop, and I bought some of these packs already, but let's firstly go to efficient, which is, I don't know what kind of gauge they use for efficiency, but we'll go to efficient and click on the new daily pack tab. And in the daily pack tab are the new daily packs, and these packs they're incredible. So I bought them all, so I can't show you from this screen what they are, but if you spend money in the game, you want to get these packs. You want to get 1, 2, 3, and if you can, the check-in pass, and also under efficient, you want to get the Trial of Ascension pass, which is basically, it just doubles your rewards from TOA normal and hard, along with adding like 500 more extra crystals on top of that for just buying that pack in the first place. But there's also really good upgraded special packs, which were Special Pack 1 and 2, which Special Pack 1, you get Light and Dark Scroll, you get Re-App Stones, Devilmon, crystals, and Mana Stones and Energy. And in Special Pack 2, you get, I think 3 Light and Dark Scrolls, you get legendary runes, which you can kind of select which runes you want, like the type of rune, and it just gives you random runes from that type. Also, there is immemorial gemstone grinds and enchanted stones as well. There is Devilmon special packs, which are, you can buy 2 of them per month. So if you want to catch up in the game, getting as many Devilmon as possible is important. You need to get Devilmon from every source. So that once in a month Devil pack that we knew about from 6 or 7 years ago, that's still in the game, but it's even better because the monthly Devilmon pack has more Devilmon in it. But also now we have the ability to spend money buying these Devilmon packs. Devilmon packs are 1 Devilmon per $19 or something, that of course with crystal as well. And that's really important. The Summoner pack is once a month. You just get Light and Dark and Mystical Scrolls, and that's what I usually get, right? They do have this kind of new rune pack, which is something that we had nothing like when the game was first released. But essentially, you select a rune type, and what happens is you get the ability to choose amongst 3 different options of legendary runes. So it will pop up 3 different legendary runes of random stats. They're all legendary. Unfortunately, some of them will have flat stats for slots 2, 4, and 6, which is rather unfortunate, which can make buying these packs a terrible gamble. But if you're spending money to catch up, this is an option for you too. Light and Darks, of course, these come around, every week, so you can buy even more Light and Dark scrolls, because Light and Dark monsters are like the best monsters in the game, kind of, sort of, but not really. I never touch these monthly bonus packs. I never touch those things. And the new Transmog pack is just the new Transmogs for Halloween, which they do like every year now. So the server just reset, and this is the check-in screen. So like I mentioned before, I get the check-in pass, which you see on the right-hand side. And I think it's pretty cost efficient, because not only are you getting an extra like mystical scrolls or energy, mana stones and stuff like that, but you also get extra 5-star Rainbowmon, you get an extra Reap stone, a Devilmon, and a Light and Dark scroll. I mean, it's really cost efficient if you look at it from even that standpoint, along with the extra runes you get as well on whatever day of the week that's going to be. But anyways, the check-in pass is great. But let's try to see if we can look at these daily packs. So this is daily pack 1, where you get extra energy storage, which is really not that important, but you get 30 crystals a day every day. And daily pack 2 is you get 60 crystals every day. And daily pack 3, you get 90 crystals every day, plus 5 Light and Dark summoning pieces, along with, it doesn't show in these windows, but when you buy these packs, you're still set crystal amounts, like 100 or like a couple hundred crystals every time you buy the pack for that one-time purchase. So not to mention, so not just the daily crystals are you getting, but crystals in the hundreds as well. So they're if you spend any money, you have to get all 3 packs. I mean, you just have to. They're so much better than the daily packs were when we first were playing. Even though those daily packs were pretty good back in the day, these are a lot better. Also, when you buy 2 or 3 of the daily packs, just a combination of 2 or 3 of them, you have increased mana stones from farming, and you also get extra glory tokens when you do arena. So when you're doing regular arena, and this is something we need to talk about in a future video, but we'll talk about it now just in case I forget. When you do arena, you get one extra token even when you lose. So even when you lose, you're still getting 1, which is great, because if you're like me, you only played a couple months of the game kind of total, you're most likely going to be really far behind on our glory arena totems. Yeah, arena totems. So when I played the game back in the day, I maxed out crit damage and speed, but everything else, like all my other totems, are pretty crap. I mean, I almost have my ancient sword, which I've been working on since I got back, completed, but these other totems like light, dark, wind, fire. These things are trash. And they need to be upgraded, especially the guard stone for the defense, which is going to be necessary for running what's called a Tricaru, Tricaru, if you want to look that up, which is 3 Icarus, Secondary Awaken, which you need to run Dragon's B12 really effectively. So having all the daily packs makes arena faster. Arena grinding faster, and it gives you more mana stones too. So that makes it worthwhile just in itself. And so if you're spending money, there's a lot more ways to get more bang for your buck if you're spending money in this game. Let's move on to the next point about why I like Summoners War over other games. And it's really because the game is just so much more deep. It's every other game is shallow. Like let's just be serious. Like if you're to look at the aforementioned Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, or even like that new Disney one, there's like that Disney game, which is very similar to Star Wars, where you collect like Mickey Mouse and other Disney characters or what have you. When it comes to gearing up these monsters, everyone's gear is the same. You just need to collect certain recipes of gear and you put them on your character, and then that's it. And you just keep getting more pieces of gear for that particular gear slot. So at the end of the day, every character in that game is going to have the same gear. I think at the top tier level, all the gear is the same. It kind of sucks. The difference with Summoners War is the customizability of having a lot of monsters to choose from, having a lot of different ways to gear them. So just looking at this screen alone, here's our Rift 5 battle results. We can grind our runes to be exactly the way we want them, with the substats we want, be it a rage healer or a swift Lucian, or we can make monsters any way we want to, because we can tweak the runes to be any way we want them to be. So if we want to put a bunch of crit damage on a swift set for a Lucian, you can make a really fast Lucian that still has a lot of crit damage, where in other games you're kind of tied to whatever the game is letting you do, which is just putting on equipment to increase the stats of a character, and that's it. So this game goes even deeper. So not only are we actually, let's look at these things in case I need to sell any. They're okay. I don't want to keep blue flats, but since I don't have any for revenge, I'll just keep all this for now so we can move on. There's been a new type of quote-unquote gear slot that's been added to Summoners War. So if you've been gone for a long time like me, the whole idea of what's called artifacts are going to be really new to you. And you might have saw these dungeon names on my screen earlier when I was showing you the repeat battles, but it's Steel Fortress and it's Punisher's Crypt. So these are new dungeons that only have 10 levels, but they are for these slots here. Now, I haven't really farmed much artifacts, so don't bash my artifacts, please, too much. They're just there just to get defense for my Tricaru. But even these have altered the game in a way to make your monsters be able to do more damage, even if they weren't built for damage necessarily. With things like additional damage by attack, or additional damage by speed, or a plus attack from losing HP, or crit damage on a particular skill, or doing more crit damage if their monsters are full health or not full health. Man, with artifacts, the whole game has changed as far as the viability of monsters. Where monsters like an Oracle with multi-hits, if you have additional damage by attack or speed or HP, multi-hits are incredibly OP when it comes to dishing out damage. So not only do we have the ability to tweak our monsters with different rune sets, like, you can make, like I said before, a Lucian Swift, or you can make a Sierra Violent, Swift, Revenge. you can make your monsters any way you want them to be and still be really effective, or just not just effective, you're just having fun playing the way you want to play. In other games, you're like I would say Summoner's War is so much more sandboxy than almost every other game that's ever been released on a phone, because all these other developers like force you to play in a specific way. I don't want to play with just Jedi on my team. I want to be able to play with Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader, and like Leia Organa on my team and be really good still, because I put time into the characters. It doesn't matter in those games. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, because at the end of the day, all the monsters have the same gear and the compositions are exactly the same. And it's just boring. Where Summoner's War, you have the depth of just the customizability, right? So we talked about the new artifact dungeons. Let's talk about the dimensional hole stuff that I mentioned before. And when you get to this window, you will see on the bottom right hand side we have a new energy for dimensional hole usage. You get 10 energy per day. So this stuff it's a resource that's very slim and small in amount. Like, you have to when you're using your dimensional hole energy, you need to make sure that you are completing the dungeon every time. And if you have to pay 10 crystals to revive at the end of a dungeon run because you're dying, you pay those 10 crystals, because it's so hard to get this energy, but the energy is so important to catching up and then also farming with as well. These dungeons have like two like different phases to it. So the bigger icons of these dungeons are going to be the dungeons where you farm for ancient runes. So back in our day, when the game was released, you just had runes that dropped from the dungeons, like giants, dragons, and Necropolis. There wasn't this new ancient rune stuff. The ancient runes are runes that have the ability to have higher substats. Except, unfortunately, there is no violent ancient rune. They say they probably won't even make violent ancient runes, which is probably okay, because violent runes are really they're tilting for a lot of people. So I assume Comtuos made these ancient runes for the other sets because they wanted to make those sets more viable. The thing about these runes is you can't. I'll show you a rune if I can find one pretty quickly. Let's see, who has an ancient rune? And I don't have too many myself because the energy is very rare. And I've been using the energy to secondarily awake monsters and not farm for ancient runes. So when you do have an ancient rune, you'll see that there's like this white glowing line around it, this glow around the crit damage rune on this Gemire, the bottom right here. So you see that white line that glows around it. So that kind of signifies it's an ancient rune. Like, so what is like the limitations with these things? Well, your normal grindstones cannot be used on the substats of these ancient runes. Okay, you can't use them. You have to get grindstones from those dungeons in the dimensional hole to upgrade the runes that you get from the hole itself. So that's just kind of like, I just want to throw that out there. But also at the same time, you can't reappraise ancient runes with regular reappraisals stones. So you'll see that the reappraisal stone in this window is purple instead of yellow, because you have to use the ancient reappraisal stones to do that. And you can find them by going to the crafting building and then going to a special, and you'll see you can craft 2 a week, and that's how you get your ancient reappraisal stones. But let's go back to the let's go back to Dimensional Hole. And I showed you the big window. I mean, the big like button island thing for the farming of runes. But on the smaller one, like for example, this the Karzan remains. This has the dungeons where you secondarily awaken specific monsters. So in this particular dungeon, you can secondarily awake the griffins. You can do with the Inugami and the bears. And if I show you another dungeon, the big one, of course, is for getting the runes. The small one is for secondarily awakening the monsters. So werewolves and the martial cats. The martial cats are actually pretty good. It's crazy how effective some of these monsters are. Like, you have to make some of these monsters. You just have to. Lulu specifically, you need Lulu for PvP. You need it for, guild content, and definitely for raid 5. Let me go back into Dimensional Hole to show you another piece of new content. When I was clicking on this first one, you'll see that there's like this small purple black circle thing on the top right hand corner of the circle. It has 2 eyes in it. Well, this is a new dungeon that comes out every month, and this dungeon drops like the opportunity to pick between like a couple runes that are very, very good ancient runes. So make sure you have the ability to do this every month by watching videos on YouTube about other people doing the Dimensional Predator. Kind of, do a refresher as far as what monsters are really effective in it, make those monsters stronger. And when it comes to ruining those monsters up, just know that you want a lot of crit rate. Like, crit damage is not important because everyone gets crit damage just from entering the dungeon. From the dungeon itself is kind of like this innate thing. So make sure every monster has crit damage, regardless if it's a support or if it's deep for damage. Crit rate, crit rate, crit rate. Do this every month. Great ancient runes, and since you're getting free ancient runes from it, you can use your 2 free ancient reappraisals to reappraise them every time. Try to get a lot of speed off them if you can. So that's the Dimensional Hole. And we talked about the secondary awakened monsters and the Predator. And I also wanted to touch base on the TOA Hell. So TOA Hell is a very annoying TOA. Like, if TOA Hard was annoying for you already back in the day, TOA Hell might be impossible for you if you've been gone from the game for like 6 years like I was. Is that going to be the case for a long period of time? Actually, no. I was able to last month get 20 stars from TOA Hell basically 1.5 months back into the game. And there's a lot of videos on what the kind of teams people use for them, but it is actually very doable. It is actually very doable. So in the rewards list, the rewards are not necessarily based off how many stages you do. It's really how many stars you get total from the whole TOA Hell level itself. So ideally you want to get, as much as you can, at least maybe 10. Getting 10 would be great to get a free Devilmon every month, along with the mystical scrolls for every level you complete, and getting 200 crystals from getting 5 stars. So what are stars? Stars are simply the condition that you're fighting under. So if I was to uncheck these 2 bottom limitations, I would only get 1 star for completing this particular floor. When I click 1 check mark, that's 2 stars, of course, and 2 check marks gets you 3 total stars. And so for each level, you'll see that there's a certain number of like yellow stars that I got from it for this month so far. I've gotten 7 out of 10, and you really don't want to spend too much time focusing on completing this. Try to get a Devilmon from this, because you really want a Devilmon as much as possible from any type of source in the game to start catching up as far as getting your monsters, your Nat 5s skilled up as quickly as possible. That's so important. So Devilmon are still like the most important currency in the game. But let's talk about what maybe is in tie with Devilmon as far as what's really important. It's the reappraisal stones. Reappraisal stones weren't really a humongous thing for us back in the day. I don't even know if they are out when we first started playing the game, but they are so important to taking runes that you have that are kind of and getting as much out of you can from it. Really just the trying to get as much speed as possible from runes. You need as much speed as you can, because back in our day, or back in my day specifically, I was able to get I think G2 Arena. Let's see. Let's go to my profile. Where is that? Profile here? Then go to record. And you'll see that I have a G2 Arena from when I first started playing this game, because I was like the only one of the people in the server that had Zyros and Tiana. And my Tiana is really slow compared to what people run nowadays. Like, so most Tianas nowadays are probably going to be plus, I don't know, 200 speed Swift sets. Let me show you. Oh no, I went to defense. Let me show you my Tiana, which is a complete dog shit Tiana. That's my Tiana. It's 156 plus speed on Swift. It's on Swift Will. I never farm giants. I only farm dragons. But even if I did farm giants, I still wouldn't have the runes to get close to 300 speed. I don't have any Swift set of any combination that gets me to 300 speed. My fastest monsters, which are on Violent, 100 plus like 158. It's really sad. But the 3 months in the game I've gotten back to, like, that's actually pretty good. My fastest Violent set when I came back to the game was 120. So now I'm at 158. It's not that great. It's really not amazing, considering that, runes that are fully grinded with max speed rolls, like quad speed rolls on legendary runes, you can get to like 190 speed. So when it comes to PvP, I'm really slow. Unfortunately, I'm really slow. But let's talk about PvP as the next point as far as coming back to this game. PvP adds more depth to the game, because the PvP in other games is like static arena like PvP as the only option. And we have that too. We have our static arena. We have that. I got it. That was the only type of PvP we had when the game first came out. But they didn't rest on their laurels, and they actually added RTA relatively quickly. The World Arena was added quickly to the game, and World Arena is another great opportunity for you to do things that are like not just running dungeons all day long. Now, when you approach RTA, you have to have a really, healthy mindset, because RTA can be really tilting, and it can be really unfun sometimes too if you get Violent procced on like 50 times. Well, what's really cool though is in RTA, Violents are limited to one additional turn only. So yeah, Violent procs are still really powerful because one additional turn is a lot, but it's not as bad as it used to be. Arena, unfortunately, all other modes of PvP, they still have like unlimited Vire procs. So you got to be careful in Guild and in regular Arena, because Violence can go crazy. But RTA in this game it's actually pretty fun to watch. If you want to kind of understand RTA on a high end level, just Google RTA matches on YouTube or watch Twitch streamers and watch them RTA at the top tier. It's actually really fun to watch, and I really enjoy it so much. And I think CompTOS knew that watching RTA can be really fun, so they made like esports out of it. And it's kind of an iffy esport because people spend money in this game to be really, really good at it. So it ends up being people who spend a lot of money are the ones who win the tournaments. But I guess it keeps the game going because we need them to spend money, so CompTOS keeps the game open. That's the whole premise of the whole, free-to-play player compared to the whale player. The whales give money to the game so they can stay open and profits, so they can hire employees and make the game better, hopefully. But so that we have the RTA. Oh, you probably saw that little extra button in the middle. Almost forgot about this. 2 versus 2 RTA. Now, RTA 1 versus 1, I hate it. I don't like it too much. It's not that fun sometimes, except when you win, right? So I don't really do it all that much. But I found that this whole 2 versus 2 stuff is really, really fun, because you don't have to take the full responsibility when you lose, right? So take the full responsibility when you win, take no responsibility when you lose. But if you have a friend that plays the game in real life, or if you want to introduce the game to a friend in real life, you guys can do 2 versus 2 RTA right next to each other, talk to each other, strategize, which is really great about the games, because the combinations of monsters that you can have in 2 versus 2 RTA, you benefit from all the monsters that your friend has. So let's say you don't have a great monster collection, but your friend does, or if you guys have small collections, but you have one monster that's really good in one collection and another that's really good in the other collection, you can make really great 6 versus 6 team games. highly recommend that even if you've been away from the game for a long time, that you just try this out. Just try it. And I promise you it's going to be really fun. Let's go to another version of PvP, like the whole like siege battle stuff. So siege battle is a different type of like guild content PvP where you play against two other guilds, and you have, it's kind of like territory control where you attack towers of monsters. So each tower has like a set of monsters in it that you have to kill. So there's 5 levels. You kill all 5 levels of monsters. You take over the tower. You gain more territory. You get more points. What you're going to see here is that violent procs and certain defenses are really, really oppressive. I don't necessarily have too much fun in this, but it's a great place to try out PvP. It's a great way to try out teams, and it's really great to get crystals. If your guild is really good at siege battle, you're gonna get a lot of crystals. You're gonna get a lot of summoning stones for free every round. So this adds to the ability to keep playing without investing too much money. But that is another aspect of it. And I mentioned before the esports factor. There are world championships that go on every year in Summoners War. And if you click, let's see here, no, click the SWC button on the right hand side, you can watch all the recent matches and matches even from years ago. Some of them are really fun. It gives you a good idea of like what units are really meta, but also shows you unit combinations that are very unique that can show you that, you know, you don't have to have all the greatest monsters to win. You just need to have really good runes, really good artifacts. So there is so much more to this game that makes it more fun. This video is running on forever, so I'm going to end it soon. But I'm really enjoying being back in Summoners War. And if you've been gone for a long time, you know, I recommend just kind of just dipping your toe in the water and to see what it's like again, because it's vastly different. It's vastly different. So you're going to be able to do more dungeon runs. You're going to be able to summon more monsters. You're going to have more crystals to refill energy. You're going to have more summoning stones, like I mentioned with the guild content. You're going to have more mana stones and more everything from events. So that's it for now in this video. Thanks for watching. And I'll be back in maybe a couple days or a week with another video that talks about how to close the gap from being gone for so long. All right, guys. Thanks so much.